Hello, students, and welcome to our algebra lesson for October 26th. And today we're going to talk about solving word problems with algebra. First, our do now will be about responding thoughtfully to the question about the notion of sharing during a social emotional learning lesson. Very important. Everyone should feel comfortable to share, although you're not required to. Our math objective for today will be to use algebra to solve word problems. Our essential question: how can algebra help me solve problems of two particular types? The first being the find two numbers types of problems, and the second type of problem are perimeter problems. We're going to be looking at perimeter of a rectangle a little differently than you've looked at it in math classes prior to 8th grade algebra. Our assignment will be to watch the video, and we're only working on problems 1 through 13 today, okay? Let's remember that. But I want you to be very thoughtful and careful about them. Our exit ticket will be asked to review what the 3 steps are that we should follow when we solve algebraic word problems. In our homework, we're only doing problems 1 to 7 of homework 8. I just want to remind you all that every Wednesday there is an assignment in Teams. It counts toward a grade and toward attendance. So remember, we do our do now and our exit in Teams. We do our lesson on our notes, which need to be checked every week. So make sure that you have shown me your notes this week. If you're a distance learner, you'll need to have a virtual meeting with me. If you're in period 2, you will get an email with a link to a meeting after school today, October 26th. So here we are getting ready to solve word problems. I really, really like this lesson. I've always enjoyed solving the word problems in algebra. In fact, it makes me pretty happy. So let's get ready for our lesson. So when we solve word problems, and here's our question of the day, by the way, before we start, and this is what we've already spoken about in class. If you haven't taken a minute to write something in this space, please do. And here is our exit, where we're asked to note the 3 steps needed to solve word problems in algebra. Okay, so back now to the word problems. I want you to think of these word problems of the type we're doing today. When you use algebra to solve word problems, I want you to think in terms of defining a variable, setting up the equation, very important step. This will make or break you, okay? If you're careful and you set it up right, the solving is usually easy. The setup is where the real work is done. And then defining your answer just means giving exactly what the problem asked for. So we're going to use let statements today, and I'm going to have you solve these in a certain particular fashion that I think is a really good habit to get into. So let's start with the finding two numbers types of word problems. They're kind of fun, so we'll give them a couple of hearts. So we'll start with number 1. And it says the larger of two numbers is 4 more than the smaller number. If the sum, that means when we add them together, of the numbers is 74, find the numbers. So the first thing I want you to do whenever you see a problem like this is I want you to create an X box. You could call this a let box if you want. I think it's probably easier to remember to call it an X box. And I want you to create an equation box. So here's our X box, and we're going to have to read this problem carefully again. The larger of two numbers, so we're talking about two numbers, is 4 more than the smaller number. So the way I would start with this problem is I would let X equal the smaller number. Okay, it's not a hashtag. That is the abbreviation for the word number. So the second number is 4 more than the smaller number. So now I will let x plus 4 equal the smaller number. I'm sorry, the larger number. Smaller number is x, larger number is x plus 4. Now let's look at the questions sentence. If the sum of the numbers is 74, well, what are we doing? Whenever we see the word sum, we are adding. So, simply put, we're going to make an equation box. Let's change our color. So we know that the first number, x, plus the second number, equals 74. So we have our x box and our equation box. Now we just simply need to solve. So this is the problem we'll solve. X plus 4. You could have the parentheses or not. It really doesn't matter with this kind of a problem. Equals 74. So we can combine like terms here. 2x plus 4 equals 74. We'll subtract 4 from both sides. 2x equals 70. We'll divide both sides by 2. And x equals 35. So now remember, we've defined our variable right here. This was step 1. We set up the equation and solved it. We set it up right here and we solved it over here. Now we need to define the answer. So what does this mean, x equals 35? Well, 35 is going to be the smaller number because x equals the smaller number. So the smaller number is 35. What's the larger number? Well, that's the x plus 4, which is 39. 35 plus 4 is 39, and that is a final answer. So let's move on to the next problem. This problem says the larger of two numbers is 7 less than 3 times the smaller number. If the sum of the numbers, we're going to add them together, is 61, find the numbers. Let's make our x box first. So step 1. So we're going to let x equal the smaller number. And then the larger number will be 7 less than 3 times. So 3 times minus 7. So let 3x minus 7 equal the larger number. And there's our x box. And altogether, these equal 61. So our equation box will be x Oh, something's wrong with my Wacom pad here. Let's try that one more time. Oh, let's change colors. X plus 3x minus 7 equals 61, and that's our equation. So here's our step 1, here is our step 2. So let's write our equation over here in the middle and we'll solve. That would be x plus 3x minus 7 equals 61. We'll combine like terms. 1 plus 3 is 4x. Minus 7 equals 61. We'll add 7 to both sides. 4x equals 68. We'll divide both sides by 4, and x equals 17. Now, we're not done. That's not a final answer yet. So this would be our smaller number. And so our larger number would be 3 times 17 plus 7. So that would equal 44. And that's our final answer. You're starting to see the rhythm of these, how they work, kind of get the hang of them. It takes a while, it takes a lot of practice. So number 3, the larger of two numbers is 1 more than 4 times the smaller number. The sum of the numbers is 106. Find the numbers. So let's make our X box. So we're going to let X equal the smaller number. And we're going to let, 4 times, 1 more than 4 times. Okay, so we're going to let 4x plus 1 equal the larger number. Okay, and together the sum is 106. So let's write an equation. Don't know what happened there. 4x plus 1 larger. Okay, let's write our equation. X plus 4x plus 1 equals 106. We'll combine like terms. We'll subtract 1 from both sides. We'll divide both sides by 5. And x equals 21. So our smaller number is 21, and the larger number is 4 times 21 plus 1, which equals 85. Okay, let's try another one of these. The larger, number 4, the larger of two numbers is twice the smaller number. If 12 is subtracted from the larger number, the result is 7 more than the smaller number, and then we're asked to find the numbers. So let's pay close attention to this. The larger of two numbers is twice the smaller number. So we're going to let x equal the smaller number. And then we're going to let 2x equal the larger number. And there's our x box. Let's be really careful when we write this equation, because we are told if 12 is subtracted from the larger number, so that means 2x minus 12, and that's our equal sign, 7 more than the smaller number. The smaller number is x plus 7, and that's our equation box. So here's our setup, our x box, here's our equation box. So let's solve. 2x minus 12 equals x plus 7. I'm going to subtract x from both sides. Excuse me, which leaves us with x minus 12 equals 7. I'll add 12 to both sides, which leaves us with x equals 19. So if x equals 19, we know that 2x equals the larger number, so 19 times 2 equals 38. So the smaller number is 19, and the larger number is 38. Okay, let's look at number 5. The highest score on an algebra test was 42 points more than the lowest. When added together, we're going to add them together, the lowest and highest score was 154. Find both the lowest and the highest score. So we will let x equal the lowest score, and we will let x plus 42 equal the highest score. There's our x box. So our equation will be x plus this one, x plus 4, equals 154. And that's plus 42, equals 154. So x plus 42 equals 154. So combining like terms, 2x plus 42 equals 154. Let's subtract 42 from both sides. Need a little darker color. 2x equals 112. Divide both sides by 2. And x equals 56. So the lower score is 56, and the higher score, or the highest score, is 98, because 56 plus 42 equals 98. So we've got a few more of these. Why don't you pause the tape and try a few on your own, and then come back and see how you did. There are 3 left of this type before we move on to the perimeter problems. Okay, I hope you tried a few on your own. Let's go to our story about Garrett, who has $1 less than 3 times as much money as Liz. Together, so that means adding, they have 179. Now be careful. The question is, how much money does Garrett have? We're not being asked about Liz. We need to find out how much money Liz had in order to solve the problem. But the answer will not require us to talk about Liz. We simply need to tell how much money Garrett has. So let x equal Liz's money. And then Garrett's got 3 times as much as Liz, but $1 less. So $1 less than 3 times as much. So that would be 3x, here's the 3 times as much, minus 1. That's the $1 less. And that would be Garrett's money. So that's our x box. Let's write our equation. It would be x plus, that's Liz, plus Garrett's money, 3x minus 1, equals $179. So let's put that over here and solve it. X plus 3x minus 1 equals 179. Combining like terms, 4x minus 1 equals 179. Add 1 to both sides of our equation. 4x equals 180. Divide both sides of the equation by 4, and x equals 45. That's Liz's money, okay? So now we need to substitute 45 right here for x. So 3 times 45 minus 1 equals 134, and Garrett has $134. So let's move on to one about the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills scored 24 more than twice the number of points that the Miami Dolphins scored. Altogether, the teams scored 66 points. And altogether means that we're going to add how many points did each team score individually. So now we're going to need to answer in terms of the Dolphins and the Bills. So we're going to see, looks like the Bills score is greater, so let's let x equal the Dolphins score. And then we'll let 24 more than twice the number, okay? So we're going to let 2x plus 24 equal the Bills' score. So it's our x box. Our equation will be x plus 2x plus 24 equals 66. So let's solve for x. X plus 2x plus 24 equals 66. We'll combine like terms first. 3x plus 24 equals 66. We'll subtract 24 from both sides of the equation. And we have 3x equals 42. We'll divide both sides of the equation by 3, and x equals 14. So that's the Dolphins. They had fewer points. And let's label our answer in points. So the Bills, we're going to substitute 14 for x here. So 2 times 14 plus 24 equals 52. And they said if they would add together to 66 points, and if we see 14 and 52 indeed makes 66 points. Okay, let's do one more of these. There are 10 less red Skittles than orange Skittles in the bag. The orange Skittles are also twice the number of red Skittles. Find the number of red and orange Skittles in the bag. So this one's a little bit trickier. We're going to let x equal orange Skittles. And then we're going to let x minus 10, because there's 10 less red Skittles. And those will equal the red Skittles. So that's our x box. Now, we set up the problem. It's the orange Skittles are also twice the number of the red Skittles. So when we set this problem up, we have x equals, so that's the orange Skittles, 2 times the red, and the red is x minus 10. Okay, so on the one side of the equation, we've got orange. On the right side of the equation, all of this is red, and let's figure out how much of each kind there are. So let's rewrite this. X equals 2 times the quantity of x minus 10. We will distribute first. X equals 2x minus 20. Let's subtract 2x from both sides. And here we have x minus 2x. Remember, this is 1x minus 2x. So what we're doing is 1 minus 2, which would equal negative 1. That's going to become an invisible 1. So the answer would, over on the left side, would be negative x equals negative 20. And to solve this, we have to isolate x. So we have to divide this by negative 1. And x equals 20. So there are 20, because x is the orange. Let's get some orange. Okay, so x equals orange. So there are 20 orange, and there are, so twice as many orange, so there are 10 red Skittles in the bag. So that's that type of problems. Now we're going to move on to the perimeter of a rectangle problems. Before we start, let's remind ourselves that perimeter equals 2 length plus 2 width. And that's because when we have a rectangle with 2 sets of parallel sides, we have 2 widths and 2 lengths. So here, number 9 asks us, or tells us, that the length of a rectangle is 6 inches more than its width. If the perimeter is 24, find its dimensions. So again, we'll start with an X box. We're going to let X equal the width. And we're going to let, because it's 6 inches more, let x plus 6 equal the length. There's our X box. So our equation will be, remember, we're coming back up here, perimeter is 2 times length plus 2 times width. So we need 2 of the width, here's our width, and 2 of the length, x plus 6. And that together is going to equal 24 inches. So 2 times the length plus 2 times the width equals 24 inches. And we'll rewrite that up here and solve it. And remember, we have those 2's here and here because they're part of the formula for perimeter. 2 times length plus 2 times width. So we can combine like terms. 2x plus, well, let's distribute first. We should do that first. 2x plus 2x plus 12 equals 24. Now we'll combine the x terms. 4x plus 12 equals 24. Now we'll subtract 12 from both sides. 4x equals 12. Divide both sides by 4, and x equals 3. So let's go back to the question. Find the dimensions. So that would be length times width. So 3 inches wide by, remember, 6 inches more. So 3 plus 6 equals 9. So 9 inches long, or length. Again, we're going to use P equals 2 length plus 2 width for this next problem as well, for number 10. The length of a rectangle is 5 inches more than 4 times its width. If the perimeter is 90, find the dimensions. So we'll let x equal the width. And then 5 inches more than 4 times its width. So that would be 4x plus 5, and that would equal the length. And there's our x box. Now our equation, remember, 2 times length plus 2 times width. So it would be 2 times x plus 2 times 4x plus 5 equals 90. So let's rewrite that up here. 2x plus 2 times 4x plus 5 equals 90, and we'll distribute 2x plus 2 times 4 is 8. So that would be 8x plus 10, because 2 times 5 is 10, equals 90. Let's combine the 8x and the 2x. So now we have 10x plus 10 equals 90. We'll subtract 10 from both sides. 10x equals 80. We'll divide both sides by 10, and x equals 8. So the width is 8, and these are inches, and the length is, we have to plug that into here. Plug that 8. 4 times 8 is 32, and 5 more is 37. So that's 37 inches. And let's move on to our next problem. A few more of these left. The length of a rectangle is 3 centimeters less than twice its width. If the perimeter is 18 centimeters, find the dimensions. So let's see if you can do this on your own. I'm going to work this. I'm going to use x for the width. And let's see, 3 centimeters less than twice its width. So that would be 2x minus 3. And that's our length. Here's our x box. So we're using, again, perimeter equals 2 times length plus 2 times width. So that would be 2 times x plus 2 times 2x minus 3 equals 18. So I'll rewrite that up here. And the first thing I will do is distribute. So 2x plus 4x minus 6 equals 18. Combine these like terms. 6x minus 6 equals 18. Add 6 to both sides. 6x equals 24. Divide both sides by 6. And x equals 4. So that would be, remember we're working in centimeters. So the width would be 4 centimeters. It's a pretty small rectangle. And the length equals, so 2 times 4 minus 3. 2 times 4 is 8, minus 3 is 5. So the length is 5 centimeters. Just a couple more. So in number 12, we are told the length of a rectangle is 7 inches more than twice its width. If the perimeter is 66 inches, find its dimensions. So we're going to let x equal the width, and we'll let x plus 7 equal the length. Seven inches more is x plus 7. And there's our x box. Now let's create our equation. 2 times x, that's the width, plus 2 times x plus 7, which is our length, equals 66 inches. So let's write this up here. 2 times width plus 2 times the length equals 66. We will distribute first. 2x plus 2x plus 14 equals 66. We can combine the 2x plus 2x is 4x. And we'll subtract 14 from each side. Four x equals 52. And we'll divide both sides by 4. And x equals 13. So let's go back to our length. So the length is x plus 7. So if x is 13, 13 plus 7 equals 20. And we're talking about inches. So our width is 13 inches. And our length is 20 inches. And that's a final answer. Our last problem for today. The length of a rectangle is 5 less than twice the width. If the perimeter of the rectangle is 56 inches, find its dimensions. So let's define our variables. Let x equal the width, and we'll let 5 less than twice its width. So that would be 2x minus 5 for the length. And there's our x box. Now remember, now we need to craft our equation, which will be 2 times the width plus 2 times the length, and all of that will be equal to 56 inches. So let's rewrite that. 2x plus 2x minus 5 equals 56. And we'll distribute first. 2x plus 4x minus 10 equals 56. We'll combine like terms. 6x minus 10 equals 56. We'll add 10 both sides of the equation, and we have 6x equals 66. Now we'll divide both sides of the equation by 6, and x equals 11. So that's the width. Okay, and now we have this formula. So 2 times 11 minus 5. 2 times 11 is 22 minus 5 equals 17. So the length equals 17 inches. So let's go back to our exit ticket. Where we're asked to define the 3 problems, the 3 steps to solving an equation. So number 1, we want to define the variable and set up an X box. Okay, the second thing is to set up the equation and solve it. And this is often the trickiest part right here. And then the third thing is to define the answer. Carefully. That means take a very good hard look at the problem and at exactly what they're asking you. So I hope you enjoyed our lesson on word problems. This is where we get into the real utility of what word problems, what algebra is for, and what algebra can do to help us. So I see you've been working really hard. I appreciate that. And I hope you're feeling stronger and stronger each day in algebra. I know that with practice, you'll get it and you'll be great.